I, like probably so many of you, have a problem. Actually, I have many problems. But this particular problem revolves around the messages I keep seeing on social media and my drive to be a better runner. They usually look a little something like this. What are you, a human adult? Or a little baby wet wipe? Waking up at 5 AM releases body drugs that makes you have a phenomenal day. Take your running to the next level by copying the world's best humans. Jocko Willink wakes up at 4 AM to train. Mark Wahlberg up at 3 AM every day. The Rock does not sleep and trains for 24 hours per day. Be the best you possible and stop making excuses like I have a job or my children need to eat. And they pump me up. See, that's the thing. I'm constantly looking to find the best balance between sleep, work, and exercise so that I can be the absolute best athlete that I can be. So I decided to get up at 5 AM for 1 week every morning, so that you don't have to, by the way, to see if waking up earlier would actually give me more energy and take me to the next level as an athlete. Here's how I saw it going. I'd wake up at 5 AM, spend 15 minutes doing Wim Hof breathing, spring out of bed and downstairs, either to run, cycle, or do yoga or other strength and conditioning. I'd have a good foam roll, a lovely breakfast, shower, and bingo bango, I'm ready for the working day feeling absolutely mustard. That was the plan. That is not how it went. Let me just set something straight before I start this. I am a runner. That's what I am. I also do triathlon, but I'm currently just nursing a calf injury, so although the title is Will Waking Up Early Make Me a Better Runner, I'm not actually running during this week. I'm cycling and swimming and doing strength and conditioning, but I can still draw those conclusions as to whether it would make me a better runner. I'm absolutely certain of that, because it's not necessarily about the running, it's about how I feel when I'm training. So go with me on it. So let's set a benchmark here, shall we, so that you know what I currently do in terms of a week and how I sleep and how I train, but also what I'm aiming to get out of this in a little bit more detail than just being a better runner. Now, the first thing is I try to 8 hours a night. So I go to bed at 10 o'clock, I wake up at 6 AM. And also I exercise, or try to, 6 times per week. I usually give myself 1 day off. And at the moment, I'm aiming for Hua Hin half marathon, which is in 2 weeks from now. So what am I aiming to get out of this experiment? What I would like to see is whether shifting my sleeping pattern from 10 PM to 6 AM to 9 PM to 5 AM actually means that I'm training every morning and therefore I don't have to train when I get home after work. And the other thing I want to get out of this is I want to see if getting up earlier and training every morning allows me to fit additional sessions in. So I should, in theory, be training every morning, meaning that instead of training 6 times a week, I might be training 8 or 9. Is that going to push my running on as well? But I just want to know, do I have the potential to be a better runner by getting up early? Okay, let's take you through it day by day. We're going to start with Monday, but not only am I going to tell you what training I did, I'm going to tell you the thoughts that were occurring in my head and how I physically felt throughout that day, so that it's all linked together, because I have a theory and it evolved through the week, so I'm going to let it evolve naturally throughout this video. But I've reached a conclusion, and it might not be the conclusion that you think. Just have to take a break for a mango smoothie. If you've never had one, you are really missing out. Okay, Monday wasn't too much of a hassle. I woke up at 5 AM, I did my Wim Hof breathing, admittedly fell asleep a couple of times during it, but I got up then at 5:15. I went downstairs and I did a 20-minute with Adrienne yoga workout, and everything felt good. I felt pretty energized. I then even had enough time to do a foam roll after that. So I am trying to make the most of the time, but I'm just not entirely convinced I've got it right just yet. I'll only know if I feel like more energized a little bit later on, because I still feel knackered right now. And I still finished all of that in time to have my breakfast at the normal time. The day was going pretty sweet by then. And I've just realised one unintended consequence, but a really nice one, is that it is now 6:38. It's now an hour into being awake. I haven't checked my phone one time. I would say at work I felt pretty good, but Mondays I usually feel a little bit more energized because the tolls of the week haven't got me yet. And after school I went for a swim. I needed to do some practice. Okay, I'm going to take the initiative. Ooh, stuck to my face. I'm going to take the initiative now, and I'm going to get out there, and while I feel energized, I'm going to try and swim 800 meters, which is the race distance that I have for next Sunday. I just want to kind of see where I'm at, and I feel, you know, I've only got up at 5 o'clock one time so far, so I feel quite good. So I'm going to give it a go and see where we're at, and hope the rest of the week pans out as okay as this has been so far today. $15.47. I'll take that. That's not too bad. And as it was, the swim was pretty good quality, and I spent the rest of the evening working on videos. So Monday, we can tick that, move on, feel pretty positive about it. Tuesday, however, that was a little bit harder. It bit in the morning when I got up at 5 o'clock. This time, rather than doing yoga or something relaxing, I'd committed to doing an hour on the turbo trainer. Now, relatively easy hour. I wanted to work on my aerobic base, but an hour nonetheless. And it felt hard from the get-go. But here's the thing about Tuesdays. Tuesdays are my busy day at work, so they usually kick my ass no matter what anyway. So I'm going into the day wanting to feel energized because I've got up at 5 o'clock, having done my exercise, which is great because I don't have to do it at the end of the day in the insane heat, but I'm finding it really difficult to concentrate throughout the day. I don't have many breaks on a Tuesday, but when I do, I wasn't able to get anything done. But I feel like by Tuesday I'm starting to draw some comparisons between toxic masculinity and people's view on sleep. And I don't mean everybody's views on sleep, but as I alluded to at the start, these social media messages about people that get up at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, 4 a.m. to work out, is that the right message we want to be sending ourselves as an athlete? Because without sleep, or without good quality sleep, are we going to be able to put the quality into all of our workout sessions? Something that I learnt down the line as the week progressed, by the way. Wednesday was my day off, which was needed. But I did still get up at 5 o'clock, I did my Wim Hof breathing, and I went downstairs and I still did yoga because that's relatively stress-free and it's a good conditioning exercise. Starting to question my life choices, and this is only the third morning out of 7. But it's an experiment, isn't it? The days were starting to bite, no doubt about that. I wasn't feeling more energized as I would have hoped, but at the same time also, I wasn't going to bed at 9 p.m. like I'd hoped. There was always something left to do, or making the video for the next day, and I found myself still going to bed at my normal time of 10, but losing an hour because I'm waking up at 5 instead of 6. One nice thing that we did that day though is after work we went for some dry needling because our legs are feeling the pinch. Our legs are feeling that they've had some miles in them from all of the running, so we went and did a little bit of looking after ourselves. You know, one of the side effects I think from not getting enough sleep is that I'm just not sure I'm recovering enough either. So both of us have just come for some dry needling, which we're big fans of, and I'll talk to you more about in a minute, but yeah, gonna get some needles stuck in our legs. See, I've got up at 5 a.m. to train before, and I remember feeling very energized, and I was starting to get surprised as to why I wasn't feeling energized at this point. But then I realized two things. I realized that I didn't get up at 5 a.m. every morning to exercise. I used to do it maybe once or twice a week and balance it out with a little bit more sleep. Getting up at 5 a.m. every morning seemed to be biting a lot harder. And the other thing is, it's pretty much 40 degrees over here in the day, and I'm a PE teacher, which is a pretty active job, and we have to be outside. So that's not like the UK either. The heat is really hard to deal with, and it does sap your energy. I'm fighting on two fronts here because I'm a little bit injured. This is what I would usually do. I'd usually come here and get this kind of thing done. If you just look down there, I usually kind of come and get this kind of thing done regularly once a month, and Mary and I missed our opportunity last month, and then obviously I did, if you've seen the ultra marathon, we did that, and last week or a couple of weeks ago it just came to a head, and the calf gave out, and I'm not convinced that waking up at 5 a.m. every morning at the moment is helping me, because actually the thing that helps me recover the most, I find, is sleep. But I'm gonna give the week a go and see what happens. But yeah, I'm feeling tired, and I just want this to heal. Thursday hurt, Wim Hof breathing done, barely, fell asleep a lot, and I went downstairs and I tried to get on with yoga. That's the time. The problem being that I've done my breathing, I've just then stood here and procrastinated.
I am so tired that I can't even bring myself to do the yoga at the moment. I'm gonna have to make it happen, but...
And I tried to get on with strength and conditioning. And I had a swim, which wasn't the worst swim in the world, but it still didn't feel like I had enough quality in the swim as if I would have done it if I was fresh.
In all honesty, this doesn't feel too bad. I'm swimming at a decent pace for the race that I've got on Sunday.
In the evening, just write it off. I was meant to be making this video, just procrastinated all evening, no energy whatsoever, sat on the sofa. And I was starting to see a pattern, and it was starting to frustrate me. Friday morning, total waste of time. I didn't even do the Wim Hof breathing. I got up, I went downstairs, I sat on the turbo for an hour and turned my legs over is what I would call it. And by this point, I'm starting to feel like I'm actually regressing, not progressing, because I'm just tired. So that hour really felt like it was quite wasted. How are these bags? If I'd have done that maybe later on in the day, probably a higher quality session as long as I'd have had the necessary sleep to recover, which I don't think I was getting. Let's just leave it as I didn't enjoy that and we move on. Let's see if I've got some energy throughout the day. I suppose that's the one good thing that can come from this. The feeling like this video is turning into quite a negative one. I don't mean it to be, I've drawn some conclusions about this training at 5 AM that I think are really beneficial for me and potentially for you watching. But I need to start my day. We need to have breakfast. It felt like Parkinson's law was in action, and if you haven't heard of what Parkinson's law is basically a task will take as long as the amount of time that you have to do it. And it felt like that was what was happening on my day to day. I was giving myself that extra hour in the morning, but I still could have achieved everything I wanted to without giving myself that extra hour. I was just procrastinating and stretching things out rather than hitting the quality in everything that I did. And that was just sheer tiredness. Alright, honesty time. Saturday. Full disclosure, I did not wake up at 5 AM this morning, but you probably guessed that from the way that this video is going. I needed my sleep. Like, I'm just losing the quality of my sessions because I'm not sleeping enough, so I needed to try and catch up. So I'm now here, bear with me, just before 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I'm coming to school because I want to swim. And I think my swim was better for it, if I'm gonna be honest. I took some kit with me as well and just played around in the pool, quick session just to keep myself ticking over, and actually it felt pretty good. I felt like I got the balance of Saturday morning right. So I've kind of drawn 3 conclusions from this experiment on myself, and you should be glad that you didn't do this yourself. The first conclusion is that these people that we see on social media telling us to get up earlier, telling us to train hard in the morning when everybody else is asleep, it seems to me that they're all people that have a lot more flexibility in their life already. They're all people that they don't have 9 to 5 jobs. There's no doubt that they're busy, but it's a different type of busy to people like us that work 9 to 5. Like, I'm a PE teacher. You have to, even when you're tired, you have to model the best version of yourself every single day. It is a high energy job that is exhausting. Getting up early, I'm not sure was the right thing to do for that kind of work, a 9 to 5 if you like. Yeah, my second conclusion, after having spoken to a doctor or professor of sleep, an expert in sleep that's written a book on sleep, what I found out was we all have different sleep needs. There is no magic number. 8 hours is not the number for everybody. Some people can function on 7 hours of sleep. Some people can't function unless they've had 10 hours of sleep. And really, the only way you know if you've had enough sleep is if you wake up and you're not tired. And what I found for me, if I was allowed to sleep with no alarm, generally I'm between 8 to 9 hours of sleep is what my body needs. And just depriving it of that 1 hour of sleep per day, which was not my intention, but it's how it panned out. It didn't allow me to have A, quality sessions in my training, the quality dropped off, and also B, I couldn't put my full energy into my working week, which is what I try and usually do. So if you have a sleep need of 7 hours, then you probably can get away with waking up at 5 AM if you go to sleep at 10. Otherwise, I think you're going to struggle. And my third conclusion, which is probably my most important conclusion, is that we as a human race need to get better at prioritizing ourselves, our well-being, our mental health and our physical health. And sleep is at the core of all of that. No longer is it cool to try and function on 5 or 6 hours of sleep per night and still do your job, because the research says you might be doing your job, but you won't be doing it to the best of your abilities. And that's the same with my training. There is no way I'm going to improve as a runner by waking up earlier and losing an hour of sleep. I could still have achieved everything I wanted to do within the 6 AM to 10 PM window, no problem at all, probably with higher quality, probably would have pushed me on better as a runner. So we just have to be kind to ourselves. Prioritize your sleep is prioritizing your mental health, is prioritizing you. I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty glad that week is over. Coming up, I have part 2 of the How to Build Endurance, 5 more top tips from me on how to take yourself from one place and move yourself on in terms of your endurance journey. And really excitingly, next week, Mary is following the training plan of an elite runner, Philly Bowden, and we're going to see how Mary fares as a normal, non-professional runner following an elite runner's training program. So that's really exciting. Can't wait to see that. So just to whet your appetite here, I'm going to link you to a video of my 7 top tips of how to build your endurance, whether you're a beginner runner or an experienced runner. And if you want a little bit more structure to it and a little bit more guidance, then there is my ultimate beginner to marathon training plan. Whatever distance you are currently at, you can jump into this plan and take yourself to the next distance safely. Fully interactive, downloadable, clickable links to strength and conditioning, the works. So knock yourself out. And thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you Wednesday.